Hello, and welcome to Agarthism Explained. In this video, I will be covering Alpha Sigma Delta, the fifth member of Alpha Sigma. Alpha Sigma Delta is a part of Alpha Sigma and the leader of the Delta Circle, which includes members like Alpha Sigma Beta, Zeta, Z, and his sister Epsilon. In Alpha Sigma, he is known for being the vehicle expert with his iconic supercar called the Death Spear. However, he is also Zero's lieutenant, which he uses to his advantage to try and take over leadership of Alpha Sigma. He met Zero after the creation of Alpha Sigma in Dimension 65-1. During the Agarthism, he and his sister had to kill their mom after she was bit. He also saved Zero from a horde of walkers with the Death Spear in West Virginia. He then joined the pack of wolves, with the goal of liberating the world and exterminating the undead. He was also a profound sniper until Cypress stole his gun because of a threat. He then used a Scar H, which he calls the Headhunter. Because of this, people began to call him the Headhunter after he started collecting the heads of the undead and wore them on his holster. After a drunk night while the rest of Alpha Sigma were gone, Delta tried to force himself onto Gamma. This resulted in an even bigger split within Alpha Sigma. He was punished by not being allowed to speak or be anywhere near Alpha Sigma Gamma. He had the job to assist Alpha Sigma Mu in taking Baltimore. When they succeeded, he and his sister were then set to capture the Delaware River. When all of Alpha Sigma was found, Delta and the group were transported to Agartha. After its liberation, Delta and his inner circle kidnapped Iota and split off from the rest. Eventually, he was talked down out of it when Zero shared his prophecy. Him, Epsilon, Zeta, and Zero went to Manitoba to help with the walkers. While there, Zeta got lost in a snowstorm. Him and Zero found Zeta after being bitten by walkers and got him back to Epsilon. It was then found out that gods cannot turn. Delta also helped in Buryatia to hunt down the rest of the walkers living in Irkutsk. While in Sydney the next year, Delta, Zero, and a group of bandits robbed a train full of supplies from the survivors. Delta left Agartha during the Agarthigo, but came back at the start of the Agarthocene. After Alpha Sigma Beta tried to get with his sister, Delta cut Beta's face, leaving him half-blind and eventually leading to Beta's death in Hong Kong. After his sister disappears, due to her assassination by Gamma after Beta's funeral, he goes back to Cyprus to look for her. Gamma tracks him down and shoots him dead to cover it up. He is brought back to life in the Agarthicon by Finese and Zero. Delta for the beginning of the Agarthicon was homeless until Zero offered him to fight in the Battle of Fierce Forest in Hell to become a god. He agreed and afterwards ascended into godhood. At the beginning of the Agarthan Crusade and Zero's coma, Alpha Sigma Delta was stealing from the rich to give to the poor, becoming a Peter Pan-like figure amongst Agarthans. The upper class of Agartha City declared him an outlaw and an unworthy god. For a short amount of time, Alpha Sigma Delta traveled to the Land of Oz, his favorite story as a kid, where he walked along the yellow brick road and meets the Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz shows him around Emerald City, in which Delta is reminded of Agartha City, showing a disconnect from his previous life. He meets other figures from the Land of Oz. However, he gets a vision one night of the city burning down and female voices telling him to travel to the highest mountain in Germany. Alpha Sigma Delta gets to the mountain, where he meets the voices of the mysterious women. They end up being the Greek goddesses Astrope and Bronte, goddesses of lightning and thunder. They talk in riddles and give Delta a hallucinogenic plant, which they say will give him the answers he desires. After consuming this plant, Astrope and Bronte make it thunder and a bolt of lightning strikes him. This causes the hallucination to kick in, and during this trip, he sees the truth. He sees the fates forging his life, with Zero controlling their every move. In his next vision, he sees a mountain with a boy wearing Fear's mask at its peak shouting to forgive the dead and forget the past. Finally, Alpha Sigma Delta's last vision begins in a gray mist. He is greeted by the Agarthan Frog King, Vitrakos, who tells Delta that he is in the Grey Sun and that Zero sent Astrope and Bronte to him. Vitrakos explains to Alpha Sigma Delta that Zero fell into a coma, and that he wanted Delta to be the one to experience the life of the Grey Sun. He guides Delta along a yellow path made from the light of Agartha, down to a figure in the distance, which ends up being Zero. Zero, now going by Matheo, tells Delta that a new age has begun and he must be ready. Delta, not understanding why he was chosen, asks Matheo, He replies by saying that Delta deserved to experience this life more than any other, for that Delta was the one who stood up to a god without yet knowing his true power. Delta begs Mathio to release him from this cycle and that he was sorry about everything he's done. Mathio tells him that he forgot about the past, and that he must forgive the dead first. After this, he hears lightning and thunder, as well as two women telling him to wake up. It is at that moment, he wakes up at the same time as Mathio does from his coma, and realizes that his experience in the Grey Sun mirrored his time in the Land of Oz. The yellow light being the brick road and Mathio being the Wizard of Oz. The first thing he sees is Matthew, the adopted son of Fear, telling Delta to wake up and shouting, "Forgive the dead and forget the past." This has been Agarthism Explained. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.